What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Primetime's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Magic Square Legends class Light of Justice as opposed to Light of Freedom. This has been an Optimus Prime kind of year. I guess you go with what works. Anyway, this is on loan to me from Robert D. He's been very nervous about me handling this because apparently it's fairly involved and he thinks there's a good chance I might break it. So we're gonna see how that shakes out. Let's cross our fingers, shall we? And let's get started. So, as you saw in the opening footage, it comes with left and right holding hands. It then comes with a right relaxed hand, a right pointing hand, a left pointing hand, two different left and right holding hands, and then two white right relaxed hands, which seems bizarre, but that's what it has. As far as I can see, it comes with 3 smokestacks. Once again, I'm not entirely sure why, but it comes with 3, and they peg on to the side of his arm. No fuss, no muss. It comes with a matrix because apparently you have to, and it has silver paint, copper paint, and metallic blue paint in the center, and then it has a little notch inside the chest, as well as this peg, which you can place in the center, and then close the doors around it. It comes with a battle axe. It is an orange translucent, and it gets lighter towards the tip, so to speak, but I think that's mainly just because of the thinness of the plastic and not necessarily a design thing. This is going to work the same way as the hands. You just unpeg and then peg in. You can store the axe and roller if you'd like, but it doesn't really fit, but like if it's just for like a picture or something. And actually, you can put it in the back as well, almost like a little like bumper car antenna, and I actually don't hate that. Let me see if I can't make anything. I don't hate that. I mean, it barely is in there, but it'll hold for a picture or a display or something. And he comes with his signature blaster. We have the gray paint on the inside there, and a nice sculpt. But I like this little extra little doodad down there. Like that's pretty intricate. And it has a peg. That peg doesn't fit great in this hand. It'll go, but it doesn't fit great. And the gun can store and roller if you so desire, but because he's painted, it is a bit of a tolerance issue, but you can make that happen if you'd like. It also comes with an adapter. This adapter is for Huffer so that Huffer can carry the trailer. Speaking of the trailer, it's quite nice. We have the white and blue paint on there, and it's done fairly well. And then you have the stabilizers. They swing out and then come down as well. So no issues there. It doesn't sit 100% flat for me. It's because these don't hold the weight perfectly. Maybe if I bring them out around to the front, that's a little bit better. And I found there's these 2 additional stabilizers, so that should help. But theoretically, you wouldn't really need them. But it is accurate, so I dig that as well. Then you have the rear doors, and they open. And then, of course, the entire thing splits in typical kind of fashion. And you have roller, painted silver with some red pearlescent, maybe metallic paint on top, and then the black paint there on the seats. It does have ramps as well. Let me see if I can get those out. And you have your little fella here. And he's on a ball peg at the base, and then a single hinge, and then connects to another ball peg. And then you have the kind of armatures here, ball peg to a hinge, and then just another ball peg on this side, but you can rotate it so that it'll sit straight up, which is nice. And this is painted silver paint here on the top, and then we have some gunmetal paint on the kind of blasters there. And then we have some silver paint on the kind of diamond plating inside of it. So it looks good. And the other nice thing is that you can kind of take all your accessories, right, and put them in your trailer and then close it up and store them, which I think is cool. So let's talk about the figure. The head, we have gray paint, and we have a little bit of accent inside of the front shield there. The ears do not articulate, and they are thin, so be mindful. And then we have light piping, which I thought we were done with, but apparently we're not. And as a result, we have a very dead-looking face. The head is on a peg, and then the peg is down below into the neck piece, which is on a hinge. So you do get down, you do get up, and you do get the swivel. It's actually a fairly effective way of doing it, so I like that. The chest, we have the gray paint. I believe that might be a separate piece of plastic. And then we have the blue paint and then the silver paint. All looks pretty good. Gray paint there on the back and silver. Yes. And then we have The arm. So just like the Masterpiece scale, when they do collapse in and then you can extend them out, you have a hinge that gets you just shy of 90 degrees, which is a bummer, and then the swivel. So that's pretty cool. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow that gets you the full run. And then we have the gray paint there on the forearm, and then of course the fist swivel, as we've already kind of talked about. Same for the other side. I've left off the smokestacks because I just don't want to bring any kind of damage to this thing. We have the ab crunch to a ridiculous level, and back, but it breaks the sculpt. And a swivel, and then silver paint for the grill. All of that works well. And then we have hip skirts. They come up on hinges on the side. We have yellow paint on the front one that also comes up. Yes. And unfortunately, you kind of have to adjust the torso in order to get this one all the way up. But I haven't had an issue with it because rarely do you want it all the way up, so to speak. You just kind of want it right about there. And that's not that big of a deal, but something worth mentioning. So get this up to expose our T-jointed ball pegs, which gets you just shy of the full Van Damme. And just shy of the full Monty. Then you have a thigh swivel built around the universal, and then you have a double jointed knee. That works well, decent. It's a little unsightly, but it's decent. And then we have the blue at the bottom, and this is blue paint. I think like the accent blue is paint. And then we have ankles. It's really, you get a rocker here where it connects. And for your tilts, it's just a hinge slightly down, and then you have the heel spur that you can adjust a bit. But I haven't found a reason why this helps me in terms of the action figure for stabilization or anything, but it is there. And we have the little silver accents on the side there for the fuel tanks, and then there he is from the back. So pretty clean, pretty efficient. The one big bummer, I think, is the shoulder articulation. And while I've been posing him and stuff, I have felt like that has been a limitation. Like it has been kind of painful sometimes trying to get him in a good pose. But other than that, everything works fairly well. I wish the eyes had a little bit more life to them, and I wish the shoulders had a little bit more range. And that's really about it. So there he is with the DX9 Dutch, and it just shows once again that the scales are different, for one, and also, in my opinion, just how much better the Magic Square looks. Like, it really takes that thing to task. Look at the proportions in the chest, look at the cleanliness of it, elegance and kind of grace in the legs, so to speak. Like, it really does kind of mop the floor with it, aesthetically anyway. And since I have another legend at my disposal, I'll show you. This is him with the Magic Square Huffer, so hopefully that's of benefit. Alright, so let's get him transformed. You can open up these tabs here, and you can put his hands in. You can open up this tab if you'd like. You don't have to quite yet. We'll do that for the other side as well. Twist the torso 180, twist the head 180. Now this next bit is very similar to kind of their larger one. We're going to open up the chest. We got to flip these. You can extend the waist. We got to flip these pieces out on the side. On both sides, and it's just a small little figure, so it's just a little challenging to kind of work your way around it. And then bring out the grill, flip down the bumper, and then spin the grill. This is a very loose peg right here, so be mindful of that. And then we're going to rotate this piece around, and then this piece around. So just almost identical to the larger one. And we're going to do the same on this side. And there's just a lot of torque kind of to be had here because of the leverage you get with the size of the pieces. So just use caution and you should be fine. I'll say that and then I'll break it, you know what I mean? But let's not put that evil mojo out there. And let's get this. And then we're going to connect these pieces. They just kind of slide into the sides here. And then these pieces come behind the grill. Then the whole grill pushes back. And then the front part of the cab or the windshield closes around it. Then take this piece here, move it to the back, rotate the bicep swivel so that the kind of G1 transformation is going to happen, and then swivel this piece up and collapse the bicep, and then collapse the shoulder back into the chest to kind of fill out that space. So we're going to do the same on this side. Rotate the shoulder, bring in the bicep, collapse it, bring this piece up, and then make sure it all fits in that little cavity, so to speak, and then tighten it up. Okay, so now we have to hide the head, which is a little bit intricate. Bring this piece down, and the whole, you see it's like a little alligator mouth, a little tongue inside. Put the tongue down below the bottom part of the jaw of the alligator mouth, and then you gotta put the head, which is on this hinge, down inside. Be mindful of the little ears, and then close this up. And I'm not gonna put too much pressure on this thing because I'm really scared of the ears. But if you are scared as well, which is what I'm gonna do here, this head will just come right off of that peg, and then you can have that inside. You don't have to worry about damaging the small kind of ears, and then you have this piece out, which is what I'm doing because it doesn't belong to me. Then we have the legs, which are pretty much the same as the other one. So you can get this flap, kind of bring this up and out of the way. See if you can open this up at all to get yourself a little leeway so that you can bring the wheels out and then spin them around. As you do so, the inner part of the wheel holds the fuel tank and the extra panel. So unfold those, and then you want to combiner wars the leg down, and then line all of this up so that it fits in that channel. Now at the same time, you have this peg that we brought down from inside the alligator's mouth, and that goes in that channel, and that all helps solidify the cab into the kind of leg piece. And I'll probably clean that up off camera. So there, that's tabbed in, and that's pretty clean. Now to finish it off, you want to rotate the heel back towards the back, and then the foot down, and then you kind of collapse that in so it's as flat as possible. And then for the panels underneath, you just fold this one down, and then this one sits on top. So we'll show that again on this leg. Just open this up. Be careful where you pull from because you don't want any extra torque. And then open up your leg here so that you can work a bit. Take your wheels, pull them out, rotate them towards the front of the cab, and then while you do so, unfold the fuel tank and the extra panel. Once you've got that out, you've got these panels open, you can combiner wars the leg down, collapse the wheels into the side of the leg. It's not focusing. There we go. And then connect your panel. And this piece right here is a little finicky too, but you want to connect your panel to that extra piece that we folded out from the forearm. Fold the heel spur back towards the front of the cab, and then your foot down, and you can kind of collapse those. Wrap your larger panel down towards the bottom, fold the smaller panel up on top, and then you can peg your two legs together. We'll clean them up. We'll take a look at them. So there it is. I think the truck is cool. It rolls better on my mat, like on a table rather than on my mat. Yeah, I don't like this at all. I don't like the way that they did the trailer at all. So we're just gonna get that out of here. Otherwise, works pretty well. I mean, I've got the legs a little tighter now. Let me see if that makes any... Well, there we go. That's something. It's not... Yeah, that's better. That's better. It's still not great. But it's... I mean, it'll work, I guess. Anyway, let's just talk about the truck. It rolls well. And I think it's pretty clean. I think it's pretty interesting how like the majority of the transformation components kind of work. You know, the same as the MP, which is interesting, like the MP style one. And I also, you know, I always say this, but I think it's so fascinating how some of the elements of the G1 toys still work well. Like you just can't beat some of that, which is very cool to me. But I love the grill. I think it all kind of works well proportionately. There it is next to Tiger Tracks. Let's wrap this thing up. Final thoughts wise, let's talk about the negatives. So in terms of the robot, I do wish that there was more articulation in the shoulders. That's kind of like my big glaring articulation issue with this guy. And it's a small one, to be fair, but it's an issue nonetheless. I also think that light piping in the eyes is a step backward. It's just rarely effective. Cool idea, rarely effective. My other main issue is the trailer connection. And like I said, I understand why they did it. They did it for the sake of sculpt and robot mode. And honestly, that's probably a willing sacrifice for me. But objectively speaking, it's not a great connection and therefore should be mentioned. My only other issue is in regard to the engineering, and it's mainly that there's some pieces that are really small, like thinner plastics, and it makes you a little nervous kind of manipulating them. Some of the panels in the legs, the side panel that's on the fuel tank that connects to the cab, as well as the ears on the head, all make me a little nervous. Thankfully, there is a workaround for the ears on the head because that's kind of the most glaring example. And now for the positives. The sculpt is gorgeous, on the money, and I love the proportions, and I think it works really well. I also think it's kind of fascinating how well they were able to make the engineering from the original still kind of work for this guy. Obviously, some things are a little less elegant and intricate, but at the same time, some of them work better. For instance, the forearms. I love the extra added gimmicks of giving you an adapter for huffer. Most of the articulation works well. It's got enough paint accents to make it visually interesting, and it comes with a ton of accessories, including swap out hands, which bring a ton of options in regard to display, which, as I've stated, I think is the way to go. Cleans up phenomenally well. Has the same kind of like chewy plastic. I don't know how else to mention that, but I'm not crazy about it, but it does work fairly well for a legend scale figure, I must admit. So yeah, I think it's a really strong offering. I think Magic Square makes a pretty good product, and it's a strong recommend from me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.